Hello, everyone. I am Nikki Klegel with Fulfill Your Legacy, and we are doing another episode of Living Within the Sweet Spot. I'm an author, a life and business coach, and speaker who elevates others into their sweet spot, where they get more out of life and work because they partner with God. They know their divine purpose and how to tap into all the Trinity offers. Here, they fulfill their legacy. They live, love, learn, and lead according to the call that God has on their life. So we are here doing another episode, and this is a business episode, and I'm super excited to have Marsha Apsley here with us today. She's going to be sharing those 3 tips that we look for every single episode. So Marsha, share a bit about yourself, and then we'll start in with tip number 1.
Sure, of course. So thank you so much for having me, first of all. But yeah, I am a counselor and a devotional author, and I simply help women find motivation through God's word to live a healthy life. The goal is for us to live fit and free by ditching diets, and so that we can embrace our age and stage of life and do what God's called us to do.
Boy, I really like that. So the entrepreneur in me always catches really like proprietary things.
Uh-huh.
And when you said, I think you said embrace your age and the stage or something. I really like that. So you tend to work with what aged people?
Usually the women are like 40 plus years old. Sometimes, I've got younger women, but a lot of times, we're just at that age where, we've kind of tried it all and we're ready just to, embrace who we are and how God made us. And of course, we want to do that all of our life, but at points we finally start realizing that, okay, we've tried it all, we've done all of those things, with my focus being on like health and wellness, and a lot of times just breaking free from that diet mentality, and it's just time to embrace where we are and how God's made us.
Really good. I didn't plan on asking extra questions on this, but it really excites me. And so what I do is I like to take about 10 minutes every single evening looking through Instagram, and I see people that are faith-based, and then also those that I feel like are doing something good for the kingdom. And as a faith-based entrepreneur, it's hard to be seen in the social platforms. And so I really love to elevate people. But I think, I saw that you had done a lot of branding work. Like right away, do you have blues? Is that right? A lot of your stuff is blue?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
I
It's one of my
remember.
favorite colors, and I've tried to keep that
Yeah.
throughout, all of my stuff.
It just looks so good and stuff. And I was like, oh, she's so cool. I love this health and fitness. And then now this morning, I just looked at you again before we hopped on, and I'm like, oh, she writes a lot of these studies and books. I might try to do one in our community. So everything about you has just been very aligned with the work that we do. And entrepreneurs, before we start on these 3 things, you guys, we need you healthy and strong. God has called you for a purpose. And no, we don't need to look good in a bikini. I mean, that's a bonus, right? But we need you healthy and strong, right? And happy with the way that you're made. So I love everything about this. Let's start in with number 1, 2, and 3. Number 1.
Sure, exactly. It all starts with self-care, right? Self-care is important for us because self-care isn't selfish. Self-care is how we can, again, fulfill what God has called us to do. And we as women, of all ages, we're constantly doing things for others, and we're working and wanting to do all the things, but we have to slow down and start caring for ourselves. And so I guess that's the overall, view of the first step being we have to spend time with the Lord. Daily quiet time is one of those first things that I tell women, no matter what you're doing, whether this is again for your fitness or for, being a good businesswoman, we have to have some quiet time each day just to spend with the Lord and remind ourselves who we are and whose we are.
It's really good. Good advice. Now, did you know, I don't know if you checked me out very much, but every morning at 6 o'clock, I go live with some people on Zoom, and then whoever listens on Facebook, it's anywhere between 50 and 100 people. And we do the Bible. And so we read a section for about 10, 15 minutes, and then we talk about how it applies to our life today. And that's really good. That's like mapped out time, like you're saying. But I often think after it, instead of just going straight into my work, or maybe before it, if I just had a little time where, it was devoted to just hearing God and that sort of thing. Even, I mean, that's great to devote time to, read the Bible and that praise music, whatever, but also that quiet is what I hear you saying. So that's really good.
Yes, exactly. And to move on to the next thing is that movement every day is something that I think helps us. We can take what we spent or what we heard, with the Lord, or what we read, and we can, think about it as we go out and, take a walk, or do something like that, because I think movement is so important for us. Again, as women, as business owners, I mean, we do so much from our home, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of people are at the desk. I write devotions. I have to remind myself to get up. So daily movement is another tip in helping us
Really good.
be healthy and be creative.
Yeah. What do you do with so the movement and the fitness I saw all over your stuff. And so you guys in a minute, we'll share with you how to get in touch with her. But do you have like classes, or do you just encourage people to work out? Or when you say movement, what do you do?
Yeah, I don't have classes. I mean, I've been a fitness instructor. I love to run, but the important thing is just to move, to go for a walk. To be honest, most of the women in my support and accountability community, they simply like to walk. And I just encourage them to find whatever movement is that they enjoy. We have this idea that, if I can't spend an hour at the gym, it's not going to benefit me. Or they'll say, Marsha, I know you run, but I'm not a runner. That doesn't matter. The kind of movement that helps us is simply the movement we enjoy and will do regularly.
So good. Yeah. There was a season in COVID where we ended up doing a Zoom
Uh,
and getting our earbuds and all walking in our own,
yeah.
hills and towns and streets and
Mhm.
stuff, but we were all talking, and it was, what was on our mind, what God was speaking to us, what things are, that's so cool that you're right. It doesn't matter if it's walking, if we're alone, if we're with other people, just keeping that going. What's your third thing?
My third thing is to get outside every day. Again, you mentioned COVID, and we kind of got into this um, situation where we spend a lot of time indoors, especially if we're working at home. The weather, the climate's different in lots of places, but I think that a daily dose of fresh air is so good for our mind, our bodies, and our spirits. And how often just getting out and getting a breath of fresh air can clear our minds and even inspire us, especially as a creative. I don't know how many ideas have come to me just as I've sat outside, or I'm stuck on a problem or whatever, and I just go clear my head, and it just brings clarity.
Absolutely. I mean, one of my most profound visions that God gave me was right after a run. I was coming up from my house, and I mean, I wrote it down. I'm like, nobody is going to believe this. If this stuff ever happens, no one's going to believe it. And the people heard me talking about it. I showed pictures, and now 4 years later, boom, it happened. And that, I mean, that if I hadn't been out there running that day, I'm not real sure I would have, you know, let go of some of my thoughts while the air's pumping. I was out and running as well. Your heart's going, you're
Yeah.
starting to forget about all those things that are busying your thoughts, and you get in a rhythm. And I think God is very much in a rhythm. And I don't know, there's something about your circulation. There's something
Yes.
to getting out and moving. So I love everything
Yes.
you're saying. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
more about what you do, how we can get to your stuff and how you offer it.
Sure, exactly. And just get, to wrap this up and to mention my most recent devotional
Ah,
that I wrote is was 50 Days of Faith and Fitness, a walk through the Psalms. And it's about getting that daily dose of Jesus, fresh air, and movement. And we can do all of that at one time. The three things that I mentioned, we can do all three of those things at the same time, and it doesn't have to be a lot of time, but simply it can just help us. Again, as a counselor, I say, my prescription for a healthy spirit, mind, and body are those three things each day. Now, obviously, I support counseling and those kinds of things. I don't want to minimize the need for counseling in many situations, but we can do those little things every day to really help us. So yeah, I have some devotionals that I've written, and you can find those on Amazon. I have a website. Everything you can find me online. Social media is marshaapsley.com. I have free Facebook group as well as a support and accountability community for women who simply, want that extra support in living that healthy life, and how that will look for her and help her to navigate that again so that she's free to do what God's called her to do.
yeah. Yeah. I wish that I kind of had this way of using you in with my entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
My mastermind is all business, you guys that are watching, and then it's duplicated on the life side. And so in the business side, we own it, our identity, our call, all that stuff. We
Mhm.
build it, build the websites, build the sales pages, the
Okay.
funnels, all that. We grow it, and so that's like the copy and the content and the getting it out there, social media management, and then we give it, and that's giving it to our people that we serve instead of trying to make contractual agreements. It's like serving
Yeah.
as well as giving back to the kingdom, because most of them really grow. Well, on the life side, it's the same thing. What do you own? Your personal identity in Christ. What are you going to claim
Mhm.
as yours? And same thing on the life side. But I always feel a bit like those entrepreneurs, it's because I have this problem, get off balance. It's
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
is it my focus is so much on getting their businesses strong and having kingdom impact that I push, and then I sort of like don't give enough self-care and
Right.
of the life stuff. So I'm really grateful that we had you on today.
Well,
You're
thanks so much for having me. It's been I love to talk about this, as you can tell,
Yeah,
and to try to, I am a fan of being concise, and like we talked to those shorter, actionable podcasts, but it is also something I feel like we could talk about for a
we
long time.
could. We could. All
Yeah.
right, you guys. Well, listen, go ahead and head to her page. So go to Instagram, Marsha Apsley, go to her website. It's her name as well. You can't miss her. Everything blue and bright and fun, just kind of like she is. And I think her fingernails. But anyway, oh, and blue hair. Yep. But you can tell that she is in her sweet spot. So that is going to do it for this episode of Living Within the Sweet Spot.